que han pasado 25 años y yo no entiendo por qué pasó esto, porque yo me he cansado la voz pidiendo ayuda.
On the day of the murder in Philadelphia, we have 13 witnesses that placed Pedro Reynoso in the Dominican Republic. So I know for a fact he's innocent.
El miedo mío más grande es ahora morir en este lugar. Yo no pertenezco aquí.
There are countless people doing hard time in American prisons for crimes they didn't commit. I've interviewed dozens of them for my podcast. Now, we're bringing these powerful stories to your screens each week. I'm Jason Flom, and this is Wrongful Conviction. Pedro, or Papatico Reynoso, was convicted of a double murder that happened in Philadelphia on July 23, 1991. He had over 10 alibi witnesses and photographic evidence proving that he was in the Dominican Republic on that day, but he was still convicted and sentenced to life without parole for the crime, and he remains in prison today. This is his story. This is a terrible crime that happened July 23rd, 1991. In broad daylight, a clean-shaven man with no mustache shot and killed two men, Carlos Torres and Charles Rivera. And what's crazy about this case, forget the fact that you didn't match the description, but what's really crazy about this case is you were not in the United States at this time. Is that correct?
Que yo fui a visitar a mi madre que estaba enferma, bien enferma, y permanecí allá hasta que mi madre murió en el 93, y en el 94 traté de venir para atrás, para acá, y me encontré con esto.
Pedro, we know that you were in the Dominican Republic. How did this happen? How did they decide to implicate you in this case?
Yo no le voy a mentir a ustedes. Yo compartí con ellos un tiempo, como menos de 6 meses, me envolví con ellos. Ese fue el error más grande que tuve en mi vida. No, yo he estado con ellos. Yo hace tiempo ya que me había separado de ese contorno porque yo me di cuenta de los problemas que habían en ese contorno. Yo venía para Santo Domingo.
There were two key eyewitnesses at Pedro's trial. One was Sarah Robinson. Sarah Robinson claims she saw Papatico on the morning of July 26, 1991 in Philadelphia. And that's significant because we have photographic documentation that shows him entering the Dominican on July 13th. So we know that's definitive. So the question is, how does Pedro, if he's in Philadelphia in the morning, get back in time to his son's baptism?
Sarah Robinson me acusó a mí y ella ya había acusado a otra persona.
Did you speak English at the time?
No. Tenía dos intérpretes que desde el comienzo, cuando el argumento de apertura del caso, yo estaba que no sabía dónde yo estaba metido.
Most people nowadays would be, if you have a priest testifying that I saw him on these days in the Dominican, and one of those days was on the day of the murder, I think most people would give the priest the benefit of the doubt more so than the government.
How could they do this? I mean, it's a long time ago, but tell us what you remember from the trial, please.
No, yo pensaba que me iban a hacer convicto porque yo me di cuenta, ya que estaba en el juicio, que el abogado no hizo el trabajo que se le pidió que hiciera. A esa hora yo los ojos se me blanquearon, yo no veía nada, yo estaba ciego, yo no veía nada. En la corte yo me puse ciego, yo me puse malo.
It just was a cascade of horribles in terms of effectiveness. Honestly, again, nobody to this day has looked at all this evidence and said, my God, we have an innocent man sitting in prison.
No, lo que me motiva a mí es mi inocencia, mi familia, mi esposa que tengo ahí, que está esperándome, que todos me esperan, que todos saben que no soy culpable de este caso. Y eso es lo que me mantiene a mí en pie. Yo tengo 26 años aquí en pie por eso mismo.
Four days later, there's a picture of Pedro at his son's baptism in the Dominican, and he has a full-blown mustache. And when I read the trial transcripts, that was like the one thing that stood out. Here's a description, and here's Pedro's picture 4 days later.
Marisol Colon Torres was the sister of one of the victims.
Yes. She's adamant that she told the detectives, like, it's Chuito. I mean, he came, I ran into him at the drug house shortly after the murders, and he told me in no uncertain terms that I did you a favor by killing your brother. The point of the story was you have this sister of the victim who is advocating for the person that was ultimately convicted of killing her brother.
Bueno, yo lo que pienso, mire, yo fui a la conmutación, yo fui al board de perdón en diciembre y traté de salir por ese medio.
We had a commutation hearing in December, which was optimistic but frustrating at the same time because the Attorney General of Pennsylvania and a couple other board members punted. They didn't deny Pedro's request for a commutation. They just said, look, we're going to hold it under advisement. And there's another set of hearings in June coming up where we believe they're going to call Pedro's case again. And we're going to make the same argument again that his prison record is stellar. There's an insane amount of evidence that he did not commit these murders, and his health is deteriorating. Those three things we're hoping will convince the Pardons Board to commute a sentence. And if they commute a sentence, at that point he's going to be deported, unfortunately, because if you commute a sentence, he's still going to have those 2 first-degree murder convictions on his record, and that's going to get you deported, which is fine. He's fine with that. So there's 2 avenues. One is a commutation, hopefully in June, from the Pardons Board. And then if that happens, we can get him out, get him to his family. Me and the Pennsylvania Innocence Project can continue to work with Larry Krasner and Patricia Cummings and her unit to investigate and hopefully right this terrible wrong.
Pedro, if you don't mind, can you talk about this now? Your health is obviously in jeopardy. I mean, what's the status of your health right now?
Ahora estoy peleando con ellos otra vez, por lo mismo, porque tengo dolores abdominales y tengo miedo de que el cáncer regrese para atrás cuando ya no se puede hacer nada. Bueno, desde 2015 estoy en remisión, pero sigo presentando dolores abdominales, dolores en el estómago, y voy al médico y aquí directamente lo ignoran, los médicos están como adivinando si tengo esto y tengo el otro y nunca me hacen un chequeo.
After everything you've been through, are you bitter?
Me siento mejor ahora porque veo que estoy recibiendo ayuda y tengo la fe de que esto se va a resolver porque ya el caso mío la gente está sabiéndolo la gente. Ahora me siento un poco mucho mejor.
When you do get released, what are your plans? What are your dreams? What would you like to, how would you like to live out your life?
Bueno, yo quiero vivir con mi familia tranquilo y recuperar un poco de tiempo perdido y cuidar de mi salud más que todo. Y mis nietos que están ahí, quiero compartir con ellos.